Have you ever tried to speak English and felt your brain freeze? You know the words. You understand the grammar. You studied for years. But when it is time to speak, you start translating in your head. First in your native language, then into English. Then you check the grammar. Then you correct the sentence. And by the time you are ready to speak, the conversation is already over. If this sounds like you, stay with me, because today I'm going to tell you a story about a boy who struggled with English for years, not because he was bad at English, but because he was thinking in the wrong way. And maybe that boy is just like you, the boy who translated everything. There was a boy named Arif. Arif was not lazy. He was not weak in studies. In fact, he was one of the best students in his class. He could write English essays. He could answer grammar questions. He could even score high in exams. But when someone asked him a simple question in English, like, "How are you?" his mind became a battlefield. First, he heard the sentence. Then he translated it into his native language. Then he thought of the answer in his native language. Then he tried to translate that answer into English. Then he checked the grammar. And finally he said, "I am fine." But by that time, the other person had already started talking to someone else. Arif felt embarrassed. He thought, "Why am I so slow? I studied English for so many years. Why can't I speak naturally?" One day, something happened that changed everything. The moment of realization. Arif had a cousin who grew up in another city. That cousin spoke English very fluently. Not perfect, but confidently. Arif asked him, "How did you become so fluent?" The cousin smiled and said something simple. "I stopped translating." Arif was confused. "What do you mean?" The cousin explained. "When you translate in your head, you're using two languages at the same time. Your brain becomes tired. Speaking becomes slow. You lose confidence." Then he asked Arif a question. "When you speak your native language, do you translate from another language?" "Of course not," Arif replied. "Exactly," the cousin said. "Because you think in that language. If you want to speak English fluently, you must start thinking in English." That sentence stayed in Arif's mind. Think in English. But how? Why translating is the real problem. Let's pause the story for a moment. If you are listening right now, and you are translating in your head, this is what is happening inside your brain. Step 1. You hear English. Step 2. You convert it into your native language. Step 3. You understand it. Step 4. You create a response in your native language. Step 5. You translate it back into English. Step 6. You check grammar. Step 7. You speak. That is too many steps. Fluent speakers do something different. Step 1. They hear English. Step 2. They understand it directly. Step 3. They respond in English. Only 3 steps. That is the difference. Translating is not helping you. It is slowing you down. And the worst part? It destroys your confidence. Because while you are busy translating, you feel nervous. You feel pressure. You feel fear. And fear blocks fluency, Arif's first small change. Arif decided to try something new. Instead of translating full sentences, he started with small thoughts. In the morning, when he woke up, he did not think, "I am waking up," in his native language, and then translate. He forced himself to think directly. "I am sleepy. I need water. Where is my phone?" At first it felt strange. His brain resisted. It said, "This is uncomfortable. Go back to your old way." But Arif did not stop. Every day he practiced thinking simple sentences in English. Not big ones, not complicated grammar, just small, daily thoughts. When he was eating, he thought, "This is spicy. I like this food. I am full." When he was walking, he thought, "It is hot today. The road is crowded. I am tired." Slowly, something started to change. The power of direct connection. After a few weeks, Arif noticed something surprising. When someone said, "It's raining," he did not translate it anymore. He just understood it. The sentence went directly from English to meaning. No middle language. And that was the key. Language is not about translation. Language is about connection. When you hear the word apple, do you translate it? No. You see the image of an apple in your mind. That is direct connection. Fluent English speakers do the same thing with most words. When they hear hungry, they do not translate it. They feel it. When they hear angry, they do not translate it. They imagine the emotion. That is how fluency grows. The biggest mistake learners make. Arif realized something important. For years, he focused only on grammar rules, tenses, prepositions, sentence structures. He believed that if his grammar became perfect, his speaking would become fluent. But that was not true. Grammar is important, but thinking speed is more important. If you know 10,000 words, but you translate each one, you will still speak slowly. If you know 1,000 words, but think directly in English, you will speak faster. Fluency is not about how much you know. It is about how quickly you can think. The mirror practice. Arif added another habit. Every evening, he stood in front of a mirror. He looked at himself and started speaking in English. Not perfect sentences, not memorized speeches, just simple thoughts. Today was a busy day. I felt nervous in class. I need to improve my speaking. Sometimes he made mistakes. Sometimes he stopped. Sometimes he forgot words, but he did not translate. If he did not know a word, he explained it in simple English. For example, instead of saying a difficult word, he said, "It is the thing you use to write on the board." Even if it was not perfect, he kept speaking, because the goal was not perfection. The goal was thinking directly in English. The turning point. One day, something amazing happened. A new student joined Arif's class. The teacher asked everyone to introduce themselves in English. Before, Arif would have felt panic. His heart would beat fast, his hands would shake. But this time was different. He did not prepare a translated speech in his head. He just stood up and started speaking. "My name is Arif. I like reading and playing football. I am trying to improve my English because I want to travel and meet new people." Was it perfect? No. But it was natural. It was smooth. And most importantly, it was real. He did not translate. He thought in English. And for the first time, he felt free. How you can do the same. If you want to stop translating in your head, here are simple steps you can follow. 1. Start with small thoughts. Do not try to think in big paragraphs. Begin with short sentences. 2. Use simple words. Fluency does not require difficult vocabulary. 3. Describe your environment. Look around and describe what you see in English. 4. Accept mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Translation fear is worse than grammar mistakes. 5. Practice daily. Even 5 minutes of thinking in English every day can change your brain. The brain transformation. After 3 months, Arif felt like a different person. He did not feel that heavy pressure anymore. He listened to English videos and understood faster. He responded to questions without long pauses. His friends noticed the change. One of them asked, "How did you improve so much?" Arif smiled and said, I stopped translating. That was it. No expensive course, no magic trick, no secret formula. Just one powerful decision. He trained his brain to connect English directly with meaning. And you can do the same. But here is something important. Stopping translation does not happen in one day. Your brain has been translating for years. It needs time to change. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You may feel slow. You may feel confused. But that confusion is growth. It means your brain is building new connections. And if you continue, one day you will suddenly realize you are not translating anymore. You are just speaking. And that is the moment when English becomes natural. So let me ask you something. Right now, as you are listening to this, are you translating? Or are you understanding directly? If you are translating, it is okay. But from today, make one promise to yourself. I will train my brain to think in English. Small steps, daily practice, no fear, no translation, because the smart way to learn English is not to depend on your native language. It is to build a new thinking system. And once you do that, English will no longer feel like a subject. It will feel like a part of you. Keep listening, because in the next part, we are going to talk about powerful daily exercises that can completely rewire your brain for English fluency. Powerful daily exercises to rewire your brain for English fluency. Now that Arif understood the problem, and you understand it too, it is time to go deeper. Because knowing the problem is only the first step. The real change happens when you train your brain differently every single day. Let's continue Arif's journey. Exercise 1. The 60-second English rule. Arif created a simple rule for himself. Every hour, he forced himself to think in English for just 60 seconds. Only 1 minute, not 10 minutes, not 30 minutes, just 1 minute. During that minute, he described everything around him in English. I am sitting on a chair. The room is quiet. I can hear a fan. My phone is on the table. At first it was difficult. Sometimes his brain tried to go back to his native language, but he did not stop. He trained his mind like a muscle. And just like going to the gym, small daily repetition created strength. After 2 weeks, that 1 minute became easier. After 1 month, he did not need to force it anymore. His brain started switching to English automatically. Exercise 2. No translation. Listening. Before, when Arif watched English videos, he used subtitles in his native language. He paused. He translated. He replayed. But now he changed his method. He started watching short English videos without native subtitles. At first, he did not understand everything, but he made a new rule. I will understand the meaning, not every word. This changed everything. When you try to understand every single word, your brain searches for translation. But when you focus on meaning, your brain learns naturally. Just like children learn language. Arif watched simple videos, slow English, clear pronunciation. And instead of translating, he asked himself, what is happening? What is the main idea? Slowly, his listening speed improved. And when listening improves, thinking improves. Because thinking and listening are deeply connected. Exercise 3. Speak before you are ready. This was the hardest part. Arif always waited until he felt ready. Ready means perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, perfect sentence structure. But his cousin once told him, if you wait to be ready, you will wait forever. So Arif made a brave decision. He started speaking English even when he felt uncomfortable. In small conversations, with friends who were also learning, even when he made mistakes. And something surprising happened. Nobody laughed. Nobody judged him. In fact, many people respected him for trying. Confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes because of speaking. Remember that. Exercise 4. Replace. Don't translate. One day, Arif faced a problem. He wanted to say a complex sentence in English, but he did not know the correct words. Before he would panic, he would stop speaking. Now, he did something different. He replaced the difficult words with simple ones. For example, instead of saying, "I was extremely exhausted due to excessive workload," he said, "I was very tired because I had too much work." Simple, clear, natural. Fluency is not about using big words. Fluency is about expressing ideas smoothly. If you cannot say something in a complex way, say it in a simple way. Never stop speaking just because you do not know one word. Your brain becomes fluent by flowing, not by freezing. The fear barrier. Let's talk honestly. The real reason many people translate is not lack of knowledge. It is fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of being judged. Translation feels safe because you think you are protecting yourself from errors, but translation actually creates more mistakes because when you translate directly, sentence structure often becomes unnatural. Every language has its own rhythm, its own structure, its own personality. When you translate word by word, you carry your native language structure into English, and that creates confusion. When Arif stopped translating, his sentences became simpler, but more natural, and that made him more confident. The silent improvement. After 6 months, Arif did not notice improvement every day. Some days were frustrating, some days he felt stuck, but one day, during a family gathering, something unexpected happened. A relative who spoke fluent English started a conversation with him. Before, Arif would avoid such conversations. This time, he joined confidently. They talked about studies. They talked about goals. They even joked in English. And later that night, Arif realized something powerful. He had spoken for nearly 20 minutes without translating once. That moment felt like freedom. Not because his English was perfect, but because his mind was free. No extra steps, no mental pressure, just communication. The smart way to learn English. Now let me speak directly to you. If you truly want to learn English the smart way, remember these truths. Translation is a temporary tool, not a permanent method. Thinking in English is a skill, and skills can be trained. Simple English is powerful English. Daily practice matters more than long study hours. Confidence grows from action, not preparation. You do not need to remove your native language from your life. You just need to stop depending on it while speaking English. Build a separate system, a separate thinking path. The identity shift. The biggest change in Arif's journey was not grammar. It was identity. Before he thought, "I am someone who is weak in spoken English." After months of practice, he started thinking, "I am someone who is learning to think in English." That small shift changed his behavior. When you change your identity, your actions follow. So from today, do not say, "I cannot speak English fluently." Say, "I am training my brain to think in English." That sentence alone will change your mindset. Your next step. Right after you finish listening to this, do something simple. Look around you and describe 5 things in English. Out loud, not in your head. Out loud, even if your English is basic. Even if your pronunciation is not perfect. Start today. Because the longer you wait, the stronger the translation habit becomes. And the sooner you start, the faster your brain adapts. Arif's journey proves one thing: fluency is not magic. It is mental training. It is consistency. It is courage. And it begins with one decision: to stop translating, to start thinking, to speak, even when imperfect. And if you continue this journey patiently, one day you will look back and realize the English that once felt difficult now feels natural. The words come without effort. The fear disappears, and conversations become enjoyable. But we are not finished yet. In the next part, we will go even deeper into advanced mental habits that make thinking in English automatic, almost like breathing. Stay with me, because the transformation is just getting started. Advanced mental habits that make English automatic. Now we go deeper, because basic thinking practice is powerful. But if you truly want English to feel automatic, like breathing, you need stronger mental habits. Arif discovered this in the second phase of his journey. At first, he was just practicing thinking in English, but now he wanted something bigger. He wanted English to feel natural even when he was tired, even when he was nervous, even when he was under pressure. And that required a new level of training. Habit 1. Build an English environment in your mind. You may not live in an English-speaking country. You may not have English-speaking friends. But your brain does not care about geography. It cares about exposure. So Arif created an English environment inside his daily life. He changed his phone language to English. He followed English pages online. He listened to English podcasts while walking. He read simple English articles before sleeping. At first it felt overwhelming, but something magical happened. English stopped feeling like a school subject. It became part of his daily life. When you surround yourself with English, your brain stops seeing it as foreign. It becomes familiar, and familiarity reduces fear. Habit 2. Think in pictures, not words. This was one of Arif's biggest breakthroughs. He realized that real fluency is not about thinking in English words. It is about thinking in images. For example, when you think of running, do not think of the word running. See someone running in your mind. When you think of cold, feel the cold air. When you think of angry, see a facial expression. Language becomes faster when it connects directly to images and emotions. That is how children learn. They do not translate. They connect sound with experience. So Arif started practicing this. When he learned a new word, he did not translate it. He imagined it. He created a mental movie, and his memory became stronger. Habit 3. Shadow speaking. Arif added another powerful technique. Whenever he listened to English audio, he repeated it immediately, not after translating, not after thinking, immediately. This is called shadow speaking. He would listen to a sentence and repeat it at the same speed, even if his pronunciation was not perfect, even if he did not understand every word. The goal was rhythm, because fluency is not only about vocabulary, it is about rhythm. English has a flow. When you copy that flow, your speaking becomes natural. After months of shadow practice, Arif noticed something incredible. His sentences started coming out in natural patterns, without thinking about grammar rules. His brain memorized structures automatically. That is the power of repetition. Habit 4. Stop overthinking grammar while speaking. Here is a truth that may surprise you. Fluent speakers do not think about grammar rules while speaking. They learned grammar in the past, But during conversation, they focus on meaning, not rules. Arif used to think like this while speaking. Is this present perfect or past simple? Should I use has or have? Is this correct? And because of that, he froze. So he changed his focus. During speaking practice, he ignored grammar fear. He told himself, communication first, correction later. After speaking, he reviewed his mistakes. But during speaking, he just spoke. This reduced pressure immediately. And when pressure reduces, fluency increases. Habit 5. Daily self-talk conversations. This was powerful. Every night before sleeping, Arif had a conversation with himself in English, not just random thoughts, real conversations. He would ask himself questions. What did you learn today? Why were you nervous? What can you improve tomorrow? Then he answered in English. This built two skills at the same time: thinking speed, speaking confidence, because conversation is not about single sentences. It is about continuous thought. And when you practice self-conversation daily, your brain becomes comfortable with longer responses. The emotional shift, something changed inside Arif after months of practice. Before, English felt like a test. Now, English felt like a tool. Before, he tried to impress people. Now he just tried to express himself. That emotional shift is very important. When you see English as a test, you feel stress. When you see English as a tool, you feel freedom. And freedom creates fluency. The day he forgot to be afraid. One day, Arif attended a small seminar. The speaker asked a question in English. There was silence in the room. No one wanted to answer. Arif felt his heart beating. The old fear tried to return, but something inside him was different now. Instead of translating, instead of preparing a perfect answer, he simply raised his hand, and he spoke. The words were not perfect, but they were clear, they were confident, they were natural. And when he finished, the speaker smiled and said, "Good point." That small moment meant everything, because it proved something powerful. Fluency is not about perfection. It is about courage and clarity. Your brain is trainable. Listen carefully. Your brain is not fixed. It changes based on what you practice. If you practice translation daily, your brain becomes a translator. If you practice thinking in English daily, your brain becomes fluent. It is that simple. The problem is not intelligence. The problem is habit, and habits can be changed. The final transformation, after 1 year, Arif was not the same person. He could hold long conversations. He could explain his opinions. He could tell stories, not because he memorized scripts, but because he trained his thinking. He no longer asked, "How do I translate this?" He asked, "How do I express this?" That single shift changed everything. Now let me ask you something again. When you imagine your future, do you see yourself still translating in your head? Or do you see yourself speaking naturally? That future depends on what you practice starting today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, from this moment, begin small. Think one sentence in English. Right now, maybe. I am learning to think in English. Say it again. I am learning to think in English. This is how transformation begins. Not with big speeches, but with small daily decisions. And if you continue, one day you will realize something beautiful. You are not forcing English anymore. You are living it. And that is the smart way to learn. Stay with me, because in the final part, we will bring everything together. And I will give you a clear 30-day action plan to completely stop translating and start thinking like a fluent English speaker. The 30-day action plan to stop translating and start thinking in English. Now this is the final and most important part. Because motivation is powerful, Stories are inspiring, but transformation needs a system. So let's bring everything together into a clear, simple, practical 30-day action plan. If you follow this plan seriously, your brain will start changing, not magically, but scientifically. Because repetition builds neural pathways, and the more you think directly in English, the stronger those pathways become. Week 1. Awareness and small thoughts. Goal: catch yourself. Translating. For the first 7 days, your mission is simple. Do not try to speak perfectly. Do not try to impress anyone. Just become aware. Every time you notice yourself translating, pause and ask yourself, can I think this directly in English? Start with daily life thoughts. I am hungry. I need to finish this. This is difficult. I feel tired. Keep sentences short. Very short. This week is about training your brain to switch. Even if it feels slow. Even if it feels strange. Strange means growth. Week 2. Build thinking speed. Goal: increase mental reaction. Time: now that you are more aware, it's time to increase speed. Add these habits. 5 minutes of English self-talk daily. Describe your surroundings twice a day. Watch 10 minutes of simple English content without native subtitles. Important rule: do not pause to translate. If you don't understand everything, relax. Understanding meaning is enough. Remember, fluency grows from speed, not perfection. Week 3. Controlled speaking practice. Goal: speak without preparation. This week, start speaking more. Not memorized speeches, not written scripts. Real, spontaneous speaking. You can record yourself speaking for 3 to 5 minutes daily. Answer random questions in English. Talk about your day out loud. When you get stuck, do not switch to your native language. Simplify your sentence. For example, instead of, I was extremely disappointed due to unexpected circumstances, say, I felt very sad because something happened. Keep going, keep flowing. The brain becomes fluent through flow. Week 4. Real confidence. Training goal: speak in real situations. Now it is time to challenge yourself. Speak English in small, real situations. Maybe talk to a friend in English. Join an online speaking group. Comment in English on social media. Ask or answer questions in English. You will feel nervous. That is normal. But do it anyway, because confidence grows through action, not through thinking. The 3 golden rules. Throughout these 30 days, remember these 3 rules. Rule 1. No mental translation. During speaking, even if your sentence is simple, speak directly. Rule 2. Mistakes are allowed. Silence, because of fear, is worse than imperfect English. Rule 3. Daily practice is non-negotiable. 5 minutes daily is better than 1 hour once a week. Consistency rewires the brain. The mental shift that changes everything. There is something deeper than techniques. It is your mindset. Stop seeing English as something outside of you. It is not a foreign object. It is a skill. Like walking, like driving, like typing on your phone. At first, everything feels slow. You think about every step. But after repetition, it becomes automatic. The same will happen with English. What will happen after 30 days? Let's be honest. You will not become perfect. You will not suddenly sound like a native speaker. But something powerful will happen. You will notice faster thinking, shorter pauses, less fear, more natural sentences, less dependence on translation. And that is the foundation of fluency. Fluency is not a single moment. It is gradual freedom. The real secret. After everything we discussed, here is the real secret. Fluent speakers are not translating experts. They are thinking experts. They train their brain to respond directly. And you can do the same. It does not require talent. It requires practice. It requires patience. It requires courage. A final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You're in a conversation. Someone asks you a question in English. You do not panic. You do not translate. You listen. You understand. You respond naturally. You smile. The conversation continues smoothly. No fear. No pressure. Just communication. That future version of you is possible. Not because you are special, but because you are willing to train differently. Your first action, right now, before the sins, do something simple. Say this out loud. I will stop translating in my head. Again, I will think directly in English. Feel that decision. Because transformation begins with decision, and then it grows with discipline. English is not your enemy. Translation is not your identity. You are not bad at speaking. You are simply building a new habit, and habits take time. But if you stay consistent, if you practice daily, if you accept mistakes, then one day you will wake up and realize you are no longer translating. You are no longer afraid. You are speaking naturally, confidently, freely. And that is the smart way to learn English. The long-term mindset, how to make fluency permanent. Now that you have the 30-day action plan, let's go even deeper, because starting is important, but staying consistent is what separates learners from fluent speakers. Many people begin with motivation. They practice for a few days, then they stop, then they say, English is too difficult. But English is not difficult. Inconsistency is. So let's talk about how to make this transformation permanent. Phase 1. From practice to habit. In the beginning, thinking in English feels forced. You must remind yourself. You must push yourself. But after repetition, something changes. Your brain begins to switch automatically. Just like when you first learned to ride a bicycle. At first you thought about balance. You were afraid of falling. But after practice, your body balanced naturally. You did not think about it anymore. The same happens with language. When you repeat thinking in English daily, your brain stops resisting. It adapts. And adaptation creates comfort. Phase 2. From habit to identity. This is the most powerful transformation. At first you say, I am practicing English. Later you say, I am someone who thinks in English. That identity shift changes everything, because when something becomes part of your identity, you protect it, you improve it, you value it. Arif experienced this too. After months of consistent thinking practice, he no longer saw English as a subject. He saw it as a tool for expressing himself. He started enjoying conversations. He started enjoying English content. He even began thinking about his future goals in English. And that is when fluency becomes permanent. The hidden enemy. Mental laziness. Let's be honest again. Your brain loves comfort. Translation feels comfortable because you have done it for years. Thinking directly in English feels uncomfortable because it is new. Your brain will try to pull you back. It will say, just translate this one sentence. Just use your native language for now. You can practice tomorrow. That is mental laziness, and growth requires pushing through it. Not aggressively, not with pressure, but with discipline. Small daily effort defeats mental laziness. The power of micro moments. Fluency does not grow only in long study sessions. It grows in micro moments. For example, while brushing your teeth, think in English. While waiting for a bus, describe people in English. While cooking, explain the steps in English. While walking, talk to yourself in English. These small moments build strong mental connections. 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 10 minutes later, it adds up, and your brain becomes comfortable. When you feel stuck, there will be days when you feel stuck, days when your sentences feel slow, days when you make many mistakes. That does not mean you are failing. That means you are stretching your limits. Growth often feels uncomfortable. Instead of saying, "I am not improving," say, "My brain is adjusting." Progress in language learning is invisible at first, but one day suddenly you notice you are faster, you are clearer, you are calmer. That is the reward of patience. The confidence formula. Let me give you a simple formula. Clarity plus repetition plus courage equals confidence. Clarity means simple sentences. Repetition means daily thinking practice. Courage means speaking even when nervous. When these three combine, fluency becomes natural. Not force, not fake. Real, the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not to sound like a native speaker. The ultimate goal is freedom. Freedom to express your ideas. Freedom to share your opinions. Freedom to communicate without fear. English is just a bridge, and once you cross that bridge confidently, new opportunities open. Better communication, better connections, better confidence in yourself. A final story moment. Years later, Arif met his old self again, not physically, but mentally. He remembered the boy who used to freeze during conversations, the boy who translated every sentence, the boy who was afraid of mistakes, and he smiled because that version of him was not weak. He was simply untrained. Now Arif could think in English while walking, studying, planning, even dreaming. He did not translate. He didn't overthink. He simply expressed. And that freedom changed not only his English, but his personality. He became more confident, more open, more expressive, because language shapes identity. Your final commitment. Now this is your moment, not tomorrow, not next month, right now. Make this commitment to yourself. I will not depend on translation anymore. Say it in English, feel it, and start small. One thought, one sentence, 1 minute, every day. That is how fluency begins, and that is how it stays. Remember, you are not slow, you're not bad at English. You're just building a new mental pathway. And every time you think directly in English, you strengthen it. So keep going, keep practicing, keep speaking. And one day, you'll realize something beautiful. English is no longer something you study. It is something you live. And that is the smartest way to learn. When English becomes a part of your personality. Now let us go even deeper, because there is one final transformation that most learners never talk about. At the beginning, English feels like a separate skill. It feels like something you turn on when needed. But real fluency happens when English becomes part of your personality, not a performance, not a school subject, not a test, a part of you. The moment you stop trying so hard, there comes a day in every learner's journey when something strange happens. You stop trying so hard. You stop forcing every sentence. You stop checking every grammar rule in your head. And suddenly, conversations feel lighter. Why? Because your brain has learned patterns. When you hear certain questions, answers come automatically. When you describe your day, sentences flow naturally. This is not magic. This is repetition. The brain loves patterns. When you expose it to enough English patterns, it starts predicting. And prediction makes speaking fast. From words to ideas, in the beginning, learners focus on words. What does this word mean? How do I say this word? But advanced learners focus on ideas. They think, what am I trying to say? Words come later. When you focus on ideas instead of individual words, your sentences become smoother. For example, instead of searching for a perfect word, you explain your idea. That explanation builds fluency because communication is about meaning, not vocabulary competition. The confidence loop. Let's talk about something powerful. Confidence creates better speaking. Better speaking creates more confidence. This is a loop, but fear also creates a loop. Fear creates hesitation. Hesitation creates mistakes. Mistakes create more fear. So how do you break the negative loop? Action, even small action. When you speak once despite fear, your brain learns, this is safe. When you speak again, fear decreases. After many repetitions, confidence becomes your default state. The day you realize you are different. There will be a day when someone says, your English is really improving. And you will feel surprised because improvement happens slowly, day by day, minute by minute, but suddenly it becomes visible. That is how real progress works. It is quiet, it grows in the background, until one day it shows itself. Stop comparing yourself. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is comparison. They compare themselves to native speakers or to someone who has been practicing for 10 years. That comparison creates pressure, and pressure blocks fluency. Instead, compare yourself to your past self. Ask, am I faster than last month? Am I less afraid than before? If the answer is yes, you are winning. Fluency is a personal race, not a competition. The emotional connection. Here is something most people ignore. Language is emotional. When you connect emotions to English, your learning becomes deeper. Laugh in English. Think about your dreams in English. Express frustration in English. Say positive affirmations in English. For example, I am improving every day. I am becoming more confident. I can express myself clearly. When English becomes connected to your emotions, it becomes stronger. Because emotions strengthen memory. When you start dreaming in English, many learners experience this moment. One day they dream in English. It feels surprising, but it means something powerful. It means your brain is comfortable. It means English is no longer foreign. It is integrated. That is the level you are building toward. Not perfection, comfort. The lifelong journey, fluency, is not a final destination. Even native speakers keep improving their language. So remove the pressure of finishing. Instead, focus on growing. Enjoy the journey. Celebrate small wins. Every smooth sentence, every confident answer, every moment without translation. These are victories. The final truth. If you remember only one thing from everything we discussed, remember this. Translation keeps you safe. Thinking keeps you free. Translation is slow. Thinking is fast. Translation builds dependence. Thinking builds independence. And independence is the real goal. Your future self. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. You walk into a room. Someone speaks English. You respond naturally. No panic, no mental translation, no fear. Just clear communication. That version of you is not far away. It is built one thought at a time, one sentence at a time, one brave moment at a time. So continue thinking, continue speaking, continue practicing daily, because the person who refuses to quit is the person who becomes fluent. And from today forward, you are no longer someone who translates. You are someone who thinks. And that single shift will change everything.